We are here today to recognize the life of Zoe Nicole Worrell, how she touched those around her, and how she influenced her community. Zoe was the type of person who tried to treat all people with equality and with respect. Zoe was the biggest klutz. She was always spilling or dropping something on herself or breaking something around her. But she never lost her sense of humor, and she was never afraid to laugh at herself. Today we will talk about the type of person that Zoe was. Though there will be laughs as well as sadness, we are here to recognize her humorous yet sensitive personality. Zoe and I had been best friends since 3rd grade, and though we had spent a considerable amount of time apart from each other, we always found time to have long weekly phone conversations and to have laughs as well as tears. Zoe's friends and family are gathered here today, holding memories of Zoe in their hearts, which will live on forever. I would like to speak about the ways in which Zoe impacted her friends, her family, and her community. Zoe was the type of person who liked to keep busy. She always liked to feel like she was doing something productive, but she was never too busy to say yes to helping a friend in need. She was always willing to help those around her, and Zoe's friends, family, and coworkers recognize her generosity. Zoe's friend Jess recalls a time in their early 20s when she had a tooth infection after a wisdom tooth removal. Zoe offered to drive Jess to the emergency room. After some blood work at the hospital, they determined that not only did Jess have an infection, but she was pregnant. Zoe and Jess were both surprised by this news. But through Jess's tears and concerns, Zoe stayed by her side and held her hand. That night, they were awake till 3 in the morning talking. Zoe hadn't planned for this. However, her concern and her need for Jess to feel safe and to feel comforted in this hard time kept her by her side. Zoe's longtime Jimmy John's coworker and friend, Ryan, recalls a week after Zoe had gotten into a car accident in which her car was totaled. Zoe and Ryan, both delivery drivers, relied heavily upon their tips to make up their wages. That week, Zoe was not able to drive, and thus her wages were cut in half. Ryan, a youth pastor and a good friend, offered Zoe all of his tips throughout the whole week. Zoe did not want to accept his offer and felt that it was too generous, but Ryan would not accept no for an answer. He told her that God puts people in our paths and equips us to care for them, as we must care for each other on this hard day. Ryan said to Zoe, "You are a good person, doing good things with your life. Your passion in fighting to make things better for everyone is admirable and infectious." Not only was Zoe's passion infectious, her sense of humor was as well. I distinctly remember a time in middle school, in the middle of summer, when all we had to do was lay around and talk about the cutest boys at our school. We were blasting Queen, one of our favorite songs, Bohemian Rhapsody, and suddenly Zoe felt the need to break out into song and dance. She danced all around the room and jumped on the bed, and I couldn't help but fall to the floor laughing. Zoe and I rolled around and laughed until we were in tears that day. Later, in 2014, Zoe worked at Generac Power Systems with some ladies that she would never forget. She had great friends at Generac and hilarious times. Her friends recall a book in which they would write down all of the quotations that they thought were funny. They would take them out of the book, copy them onto paper, and pin them in their cubicles for a good laugh whenever they were feeling down. Zoe's longtime friend Amy remembers a quote that she had pinned in her cube for over a year. Zoe said to Amy one day, "Amy, you gotta be true to yourself, even if it makes you a loser." Throughout middle school, Zoe suffered and felt like an outcast. However, she was able to turn to creative writing and to singing as an outlet for her stress. Through writing, Zoe found a unique an unyielding voice of her own. Zoe's 3rd through 8th grade teacher, Corinne Lorian, remembers Zoe blossoming in the 8th grade creative writing class. She says that Zoe was unafraid to speak her mind and that her writing packed a punch for someone so young. Throughout 8th grade, high school, and beyond, Zoe worked on poetry as a coping mechanism and as a hobby. In high school as well as college, Zoe pursued hobbies like singing and writing as full-time fun things to do. She enjoyed singing more than almost anything and enjoyed working on projects with her stepfather's band as well as some musician friends of hers. Zoe shined through her creativity, her words, and her deep and open heart. Zoe was a lover of all people. She believed that peace and equality in the world are achievable and that a good laugh can brighten anyone's day. She believed that anyone can make art and that art is meant to be shared. As Zoe would say, probably as she spilled coffee down her jacket in true klutz fashion, you gotta be true to yourself, even if it makes you a loser.